Nikki Giovanni said when you go to somebody's house in mourning, you should bring a good bottle of champagne. So let me find one.
These days, reporters rarely get to go back to stories they covered, but sometimes we try. I'm grabbing champagne for a do-over with Ayanna Brown, a woman I met 12 years ago. I covered the death of her son.
Alajawan Brown was killed in April of 2010. The shooter, Curtis Walker, was out on community supervision for drugs when he mistook the boy's jacket for one of a rival gang member.
Alajawan was coming home from Walmart, where he'd gone to buy football cleats with money he'd saved from mowing his neighbor's lawn. He was 12 years old. Every job has a dirty deed, and there's this weird, unnatural thing that reporters do, and that's to turn on a camera, place a mic in a person's face, and ask them to share in detail the worst thing that has ever happened to them. I did this kind of journalism for 15 years, and the justification is that somehow a news report allows someone to share their truth. But can you truly tell the complexities of Black love and loss in a 2-minute spot? Especially for someone like Ayanna Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Beautiful. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Are you?
Ayanna and I have kept in touch on and off through the years. And recently we started talking again on the phone. A lot has changed. When we first met, she was a school bus driver. She's since moved on to work full-time for the foundation she created in Alajawan's name. Her days are filled with granting scholarships for kids who need help buying sports uniforms and equipment. And every Thanksgiving and Christmas, she creates a feast for the community. She's also back in school, getting a bachelor's in business and trauma recovery.
Did you have class last night?
Uh-huh.
How's it going?
There's 3 of us in the group. We're already having issues just because...
We talk about stuff like how much it sucks to do group projects on Zoom and the challenges of going back to school after having a whole career and raising a family. But mostly, we talk about Alajawan. This year, he would have been 24 years old.
How did you choose the name Alajawan?
Okay. I've got 4 babies. Alajawan is baby number 4. My first 3 babies are all named after my husband, Louis. I said, I keep naming all of these kids after this man, and he ain't done nothing. His body ain't grew. He ain't throwing up.
Black women, especially Black moms, are called a lot of things. Pillar of strength is one that I always hear. But those pillars, they're built on a foundation. And right now, with our world and collective mourning, I wanted and needed to take a look at that foundation.
Well, I'll see you later in Seattle. And as always, it was nice talking to you.
You as well. Looking forward to talking to you. You be careful traveling.
Thank you. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So for this episode of Truth Be Told, I am headed back to Seattle to get a closer look at Ayanna's truth and the story that so many Black mothers deserve to tell. And that's the tremendous cycle of loving, losing, grieving, and persevering. How do you not only survive but thrive through tough times? Black moms like Ayanna Brown have some answers. Stay with us.
Good afternoon. Welcome aboard Alaska Flight 527 with service to Seattle. We want to thank you for being...
Oh my gosh, I love where you live.
Hey.
Hey, you are bumping the music. How are you? Let's give each other a virtual hug. A friend told me when you're coming to have a conversation like we're about to have, that you should bring a good bottle of champagne.
Thank you.
Yes. So I wanted to get you a good bottle of champagne. We can't be at a kitchen table, but we'll make the best of it in the car.
Mm-hmm. So, I thought then, since you were recording, that I would drive.
Okay, that sounds good. And you're good at driving. We know that.
We put the champagne on ice for later and then hit the road. Driving is Ayanna's thing. Sometimes, when she wants to clear her head, she jumps in the car and drives for hours, listening to music. Her car is kind of like her own personal hiding spot, a place for Ayanna to be alone with her memories.
I'm the chick that likes the music blasting, and the faster the song is, the better for me.
What does it do for you?
It makes me feel good. I am the chick that dances as if no one is watching when I'm in the car by myself. Sometimes it brings back memories. For instance, E40's Tell Me When to Go. That was the last song that I danced with my baby to a few hours earlier.
A few hours before Alajawan was killed, he was with his mom helping her out at work. He really wanted to buy some new football cleats from Walmart, but before he could do that, Ayanna made him stay with her to clean the school bus.
So I was on one side of the bus, and he was on the other side, and then we started racing. So we were trying to see who could clean the windows the fastest. So I'm starting from the steering wheel back. He started from the back to the passenger door. And so music is playing, we're singing, we're clowning, and that song came on, and he was like, "You gotta dance with me, mama." And so we dropped our cleaning stuff, and we literally had the bus rocking. It was shaking backwards and forth with me and him dancing.
After that impromptu dance party, Ayanna let Alajawan head to Walmart with instructions that he take the city bus back home. A few hours later, on her way home from work, Ayanna drove past that bus stop where Alajawan was supposed to get off and made note of the ambulances and police cars.
And I'm praying for the strength of the family or whoever that is laying there. I didn't know that I was praying for myself.
She made it home, fully expecting Alajawan to be there, ready to show off those cleats. When he wasn't, she got in her car and drove back to that chaotic scene at the bus stop.
And there was an officer there, and I pulled up. My husband was driving. I was on the passenger side. And I said, "Excuse me, what can you tell me about, the victim? My baby is missing, and I'm worried." And he said, "How old is your son?" I said, "He's 12. He said, "No, ma'am, this is not your son. They're saying that's no way. This is the body of a 12-year-old. So we drove off and left our baby laying there.
The way I've described it is, it was like a 5-year-old holding on to Hulk Hogan. That's just how big this man was.
Alajawan's murder happened 3 years before Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson shot and killed Michael Brown. Wilson and Brown were around the same weight and height, but Wilson described Brown as kind of superhuman, this perpetuation of the black brute stereotype, white supremacist rhetoric used during the lynching era that painted black men and boys as menacing, bigger, stronger, and more powerful than they actually are. When I heard Darren Wilson describe Michael Brown, I thought of Alajawan, because when I arrived at that bus stop where Alajawan was killed, a group of teenagers tapped me on my shoulder and told me straight up, the sheriff's department is saying that this is a man under that sheet, but it's not. It's a boy. When I questioned authorities about it, they were dismissive, restating what they told Ayanna, that the body was an adult man involved in a gang shootout. 24 hours later, they'd correct themselves, but the narrative was already out there. These media missteps, they are not small errors. Think of it like this. The sheriff's department's refusal to see Ayanna's son as a child. In many ways, it robbed Alajawan in death of his boyhood and his innocence. There's an interior world that grief creates, a world that prioritizes the good times, and a belief that there's a reason for our pain and suffering.
There's an old commercial. It was a Subaru commercial, and the tagline is, "They lived."
They lived.
The car is just completely mangled.
They lived.
And as people are looking at it, that's all they say is,
They lived.
the survival rate is attributed to because it was a Subaru. My survival rate is attributed to because of my relationship with God. As hard as this is, and as much as I struggle, Miss Tanya, the only reason I'm even breathing is because it's an automatic function. And so I know God is bringing me through this. I know He sees me through it. I know He's helping me. He's providing. He strengthens me. And even though He strengthens me, I still feel so minuscule and so weak and so irrelevant. And I know that if it's this hard for me now, and I have a relationship with Him, I couldn't imagine surviving this not believing in God. There's no way.
But even in her unwavering faith, Ayanna has come to believe that saying, "Be careful what you ask for."
I used to ask God all the time to use me, however He saw fit. Use me to bless somebody else. Well, after I lost my baby, I didn't make that request anymore. And I admit that had I known in advance that He was part of the deal for that prayer to be answered, I wouldn't have made that request. So because He's God, He still uses me the way He wants. But as far as me asking Him, I didn't ask anymore.
Yeah. A lot of people stay angry and stay in that space of anger. How do you keep yourself from being there?
Oh, I can't let me keep being angry. It's exhausting. When I was angry, when I realized that I was in the angry stage, I was really nasty.
Yeah, you said that. Like what? Like what way?
I had no filter. If it hurt your feelings, too bad, so sad. And this may have been our first Christmas without Alajawan. And apparently somebody asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And my husband said that I said, "Can you give me my baby back? Don't ask me what the fuck I want for Christmas." So I think at that point, anybody could have got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What keeps me going now is my anger and my hurt. So
it fuels you.
It does. It does. When I'm laying in bed and the rest of the world is quiet and, well, my husband's not quiet, and that man is snoring, keeping up a lot of noise. But when everybody else is sleeping and resting, I'm crying. And the madder I get at him, the more I do for my baby. So I keep converting what could be my hurt.
And when you say him, you're talking about
my baby's
person
killer.
Who killed your son.
I allow my hate, what could be my hate for him, I convert that into my love for my baby. And so since both of those are never-ending sources. My hate for him, my love for him, as long as I'm alive, this work will continue.
Have you ever come to a place of forgiveness of this man who killed your son?
I have.
You have? What does that look like?
I actually told him that. And I started out by thanking him. I thanked him for making sure that all of our holidays feel like something was missing. I thanked him for making sure Alajawan wouldn't graduate from high school. I thanked him for ensuring Alajawan wouldn't live his life dreams. I thanked him that our daughter-in-law would never join our family. I thanked him for making sure I'll never get to love on the grandbabies that Alajawan would have given. He gets all the credit for that. And I did tell him that I forgive him, but I made it crystal clear that it wasn't for the ease of his conscience or the lack thereof. It was for me and my healing and my survival and my strength. Mm-hmm. It was to free me.
That word freedom, with passing time, does it feel like you're getting there?
I'm more fluid now. I'm not stuck. Pain is still there. It still hurts me as if it just happened. That pain never goes away.
Shortly after Alajawan died, Ayanna started doing things that would give her the motivation to get up in the morning, to do more than that automatic function of breathing, like the work of the foundation. The number to reach it is Alajawan's old cell phone.
Please leave your message for
Alajawan Brown.
You still got it.
Mm-hmm. When we started the foundation in 2012, we knew we were going to need a business number. And we decided, since we were still paying for his phone, why not make his number the business number?
You're so open and expressive about Alajawan. So many people know his story. You're working on behalf of him.
I'm even going to school on behalf of him. My degree is for him. I'm going to school for my baby, to enhance the work that I'm doing for him. And it's symbolically his diploma as well, because he's not here to get it. So his daddy graduated high school for him. His mom is going to graduate college for him.
Listening to Ayanna makes me think of that Marvel show, WandaVision, where Vision says to Wanda, "What is grief, if not love persevering?" The Bible talks about this. Ayanna and I take a minute to read Corinthians 13.
Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. I catch myself doing that. Displaying this where Alajawan is concerned. The patience of learning to do things. The patience of going to school. The patience of going through these processes to make these changes and to make these differences. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. My love for my baby that's my perseverance. That's what makes me do what I do. And it's so funny because, you know how after you lose somebody, you're sitting around, especially when it first happens, and everybody's sitting around laughing and talking and reminiscing, and right? And so when me and my kids would be together and something weird would happen or crazy would happen, I would tell them, okay, remember this moment, so later on when I'm gone, you can remember this, about me. Put this in your treasure chest. I had no clue that I would be the one opening up that treasure chest. And when I tell you that I think if I am not the richest, I am one of the richest women in the world. Because I have those memories that are so precious and rare that some of those memories are not even shared with anybody else. It is just me and Alajawan. That is how one of a kind some of those moments are. That I had him to myself, and this was something he and I did. And that keeps me going. It hurts me, but I'm glad that I have him.
How would you describe yourself outside of your children and your family? If someone were to say, who is Ayanna?
You know what? I am just now learning her, because my whole life has been my husband and my kids. So this is Ayanna. This is the chick that would throw on.
I know. So you have on a tiara, which I'm sorry I did not acknowledge until now. But you are wearing a tiara in the Target parking lot in the car.
With a t-shirt and jeans and some slides.
With a t-shirt that says force, a verb, a healed black woman.
This is who I'm becoming. I actually was telling my husband, I think I need to upgrade to a crown.
A full crown. And what is that saying to the world as you walk through with your full crown or your tiara?
I am a majestic and a royal being. And I don't have to live in a palace to be considered as such. I am that because I say I am that. And that's how I feel. And that's how I'm carrying myself today. Now tomorrow, I might go back to being ratchet and, But right now, this is who I am.
And it strikes me like the saying of like one day at a time or 1 minute at a time. Like, it's okay to feel that way and to be one day a queen and one day laying in the bed, just like I need a moment.
And it is actually that. It's not one day at a time. It is what you said, one moment by moment, 1 minute by minute.
With the music bumping, it's time to head back to Ayanna's house. She's leading a Zoom call with city leaders about creating more programs for young people. What I'm seeing in Ayanna, what I'm learning from her, comes into focus. There is really no such thing as healing from a tragedy like this. It's about managing the pain and using it as fuel to persevere.
When was the last time you heard the Viper sloppy?
After reflecting on all that Ayanna shared with me, I wanted to catch up with Marissa Renee Lee. She's the former director of My Brother's Keeper, and she's written quite a bit about the privilege of grieving. and how we need to give ourselves permission to grieve more. Marissa just wrote a book titled Grief is Love, Living with Loss.
When I was 13, my mom got sick one day and she just never got better. She ended up being disabled. She had to stop working. Ultimately, we learned that she had multiple sclerosis. We spent lots of time in and out of doctor's offices together, in and out of the hospital together. I cherished that role. I never really gave myself the space to feel bad about it or to acknowledge how hard it was. So for me, vulnerability as it pertains to grief today, almost exactly 14 years after my mother's death, it's all about telling the truth, first and foremost to myself and then also to others. And I realized that for the majority of Black Americans, we do exist in this country in a state of fear. We have to think differently about how we present ourselves to the world because we're not protected. We're not safe. If you can't breathe and you have to move through this country thinking about how people are going to perceive you and, when you might be seen as a threat or what it might look like for you as a Black woman to fall apart and be a mess, you can't do those things because you're not supported and you're not safe. That is why it is essential for us, the sort of royal us Black women, to find the spaces and the places where we do feel safe being vulnerable. Because if you don't let yourself experience the fullness of grief in all of its ugliness and, misery and all of these complicated, challenging emotions, you're not going to move through it to a place where you can really live a joyful life in the midst of loss. I think we need to redefine what it means to be a strong Black woman. We need to redefine it in our own terms, separate from whiteness and capitalism and the patriarchy. We need to redefine it in a way that actually works for Black women. And we know that there are consequences to just keeping on and acting like you're okay when you're not and swallowing your feelings. There are very serious physical and emotional health consequences to being the strong Black woman that we've been painted to be. And so I think we need to redefine what strength looks like in Black female form and turn it into something that actually does work and that is healthy and that is true strength, which I do think has to include some degree of vulnerability and reckoning with challenging feelings.
That was Marissa Renee Lee talking about how a healthier relationship with grief can help us move towards a more joyful life. Her new book, Grief is Love, Living with Loss, comes out on April 12th. I want to hear your thoughts. Give us a call at 424-279-8425. That's 424-279-8425. And leave us a message. We may use your comments or questions in one of our upcoming episodes. You can also reach me at Tonya@DearTBT.com or use the hashtag DearTBT. Truth Be Told is a production of TMI Productions and is produced by Ayanna Angel, Aisha Brown, James T. Green, and Enrico Benjamin, in collaboration with Molten Heart and in association with Fearless Media. We're distributed by DCP Entertainment. Our theme music is Rest by Otis McDonald and Zora's Moon by Candace Hoyes, and we're funded in part by the Heising Simons Foundation and the Ford Foundation. I'm Tonya Mosley. Until next time.